So thank you for everybody coming to hear us speak on SolarCity and connecting the customer journey. So this will be our experience with Telium over the, I guess, roughly the last 6 months. We're a bit of a late adopter. Quick show of hands, who is familiar with SolarCity? Just so, okay, more than I thought. So we're going to go through this in 3 phases. They wouldn't let me speak the whole time on what they actually do for a living. So I'm just going to do the introduction on SolarCity, how we got to Telium. Matt is going to talk a little bit about our data infrastructure. I'm going to share some customer examples of how we're stitching data together in Telium to get a timeline of interactions from media we put into the marketplace to interactions inside of Salesforce and our internal CRM system. Matt's going to talk about how we actually do that using Telium and Atlas. And then Noah is going to talk about Audience Stream. And then we're hopefully going to have a little bit of time left for Q&A. So quick intros. I'm Steve Donatelli. I'm the Senior Director of Performance Marketing at SolarCity. Matt Beck is our Director of Media and Web Analytics. And Noah Brooks is our Digital Marketing Manager and manages all of our paid search, portion of our display, and is also responsible for Audience Stream. So just to kind of point out what we're responsible for, the team is broken out into 2 different groups, and Matt runs this team here. I think we have like 7 people on this side of the business, mostly hardcore analysts or database developers, so they do our media mix modeling, they can build response and conversion models. On this side, we buy all of our media, so we have 4 media managers and I think 3 or 4 media specialists. We buy all of our media internally with the exception of radio and TV when we run it. And our model at SolarCity is by and large to build an internal data warehouse, to put Tableau on top of that, to hire smart people, and to make smart decisions with what we do in the media that we put into the market. So a quick background on SolarCity, for those of you who aren't familiar. We are a commercial and residential rooftop solar panel company. And so we were started in 2006. If you know of us, it's either because we sell in your state or because Elon Musk is our chairman. So he started the company with his 2 cousins in 2006. We turned 10 July 4th of this year, so yay us. We sell in all these different markets. We have a nonprofit called Give Power Foundation where we go to third world countries and we will do solar installations in off-the-grid villages that don't otherwise have access to power. But by and large, residential, I messed that up. Residential is the lion's share of our business, and it's what we're responsible for marketing for. So we don't do any marketing for the commercial or government or utility scale side of our business. We work in direct-to-consumer on the residential side of our business. So for those of you that aren't familiar, I'm going to give you a quick overview video of what an installation looks like. And hopefully this will give you a better idea of
It
SolarCity.
starts with breakfast. Once nourished, the crew unloads the box truck, carefully packed with everything needed to install your custom solar array. Safety first. Hard hats, gloves, harnesses. And then the ladder hits the roof. Next comes the technical stuff. We break out the designs, we configure the layout, we make precise insertions into rafters. And of course, the puck. Our state-of-the-art install system clips into place with ease, so we can provide you with a 1-day installation process. And just like that, the power of the sun is ready to work for you.
So that's what the company does in a nutshell. Our job is to keep that channel busy. So it's to keep the sales channel busy and the operations team busy. In the markets that we serve, we sell in 18 states. We pretty much have California blanketed. In the other states that we sell in, it's pockets based off regulatory or policy approvals with certain electric utilities that we do business with. But by and large, our job is to keep those teams busy So through media and through marketing that we put out into the marketplace, keep them busy at scale while lowering our marketing cost of acquisition, which kind of segues then into the story of how we wound up with Telium. So next slide. So we're all relatively new to SolarCity. Matt and I came on board in February of 2015. We previously worked, this is our third company, I guess, together. We worked at Progressive Insurance. I was there for 5 years. He was there for 10 on digital media. So we ran paid search there for the whole time that both he and I worked there. And we came up in an environment where, kind of what I explained earlier, where you took your internet data warehouse, your customer data warehouse, you joined them together. We put Tableau on top of those warehouses, hire smart people, and make smart media decisions. When we came into SolarCity, this is kind of the ecosystem that we came into. Nothing wrong with this model, just not really what we're used to. And how it worked for SolarCity, I think there were problems with this model. So as we kind of peeled back the onion of what was going on at SolarCity, we saw some major challenges. First being that, by and large, the company for marketing was just running an AdWords account that an agency owned. We had no legal availability to the data that came out of that account, and we're talking about a 7-figure a month account. We had outsourced our website, so we had an agency that was managing our website. Our marketing landing pages were on a different CMS platform. Our website was on a single server in rack space, so not fault tolerant, not redundant, could not handle the volume of traffic that our team was sending to the website. We were overpaying for platforms. We had the wrong tech stack in place. We inarguably had way too many agencies involved. So we had an agency that did nothing but give us recommendations on what to do in Optimizely, which seems like a giant waste of money. We couldn't answer simple questions, right? So we didn't have access to the data that we needed to effectively manage the media budget that we're responsible for. And then that created a lot of uncertainty over where we should actually spend our media dollars. So we quickly came to the decision that we needed some sort of a DMP. And really the only question was, do we buy it or do we decide that we want to build it ourselves? Luckily, I knew a guy, Chris Slovak, who works here at Telium. Chris and I we worked together at a company previous to him being at Telium. And he had kind of been in my ear for the last 3 years about Telium and everything that they offered. And I really didn't have a home for using Telium at the other 2 companies that I was at prior to coming to SolarCity. But when I came to SolarCity and I kind of understood the landscape of what we were walking into and the need for a data warehouse and a DMP so that we could truly enable our marketing efforts, Chris was the first person that I called. So the rest, obviously we made the decision to go with Telium. The rest is kind of history. We purchased the full suite of the product. So we bought Telium IQ, Audience Stream, Event DB, and Audience DB. We purchased in August of last year, somewhere around there. We put our collect tags in place in September, October timeframe, but we really didn't do a full implementation until about December 2015, January 2016. I can't overstate enough how important Telium is now to what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. So in a short period of time, we've come a very, very long way in understanding how consumers are viewing the media stimulus that we put in front of them, interacting with our offline sales channel, and identifying areas for opportunity to improve the process. So I think Matt actually stated this. Telium is now kind of the glue of everything that we're doing from a marketing perspective, and how we're stitching systems together and understanding, again, how people are interacting with SolarCity's brand from a marketing perspective. So I'm going to share actually 2 stories, or 2 timelines of customer interactions that we've been able to uncover through using Telium. So the celebrities that I put in these next 2 slides are for entertainment purposes only. they're not actually SolarCity customers that I'm aware of. So with Telium, first interaction, the person's name was actually Amy. So we put our collect tags in place. We could see that in December we served her some, or in October we served her some display ads. Again in November, she visited our site on an Android device. In December, we called her 3 times. Let me go through this whole interaction. Called her again, she visited our desktop site, served her a bunch more display ads, all the way into January 7th, where we lost all contact with this prospect. We served her 199 display ads. She had 3 mobile visits. She scheduled 2 appointments. We called her 10 times. She filled out 2 form fills on our website. We never talked to her, not once. So a horrible experience, right? And what this was actually presented to our executives as an area of opportunity to show that for people that don't want to talk on the phone, we have no way to sell to them. We have no way to really even communicate with them. So a ton of area for opportunity for us to improve that process. Second one, I didn't even know who this guy was, but first name that comes up when you search on Bob in Google. A much better interaction, right? So he first visited our website on a tablet in December. We served him some display. He came back January 13th. He filled out a lead form. He talked to an inside energy consultant. The next day, an energy advisor visited his house. 2 weeks later, he had a site survey. And a month later, he had panels installed on his house. So this holistic view is incredibly important for us to be able to stitch together to understand how we're talking to people and how we improve upon that process. From here, I'm going to turn it over to Matt, and he's going to talk a little bit about our data warehouse, the systems that we're stitching together, and all the work that he and his team have done in the last year. That's the laser, yeah.
Okay. So, you know, before you can actually stitch all this data together, before you can build a data warehouse, you need data. And all of our data exists across multiple different platforms. So we have data in our advertising platforms. We have data from our website. We have data in our CRM platform. And you just can't go into these platforms and pull that data out and start stitching it together because you need some kind of common field or common key to be able to stitch those different data sets. So the platforms that we use, they don't talk to each other. They don't connect to each other. So the challenge that I had is I had to connect those different platforms together. So what I'm going to show you today is how I use Telium to make all these different platforms talk to one another. So it all starts with our ad server, which is Atlas. So in our ad server, this is where we do the majority of our digital advertising, our banner ads, video advertisements, audio advertisements, things like that. Atlas is unique because it's a people-based ad server. It's not cookie-based. It's actually owned by Facebook. So the advantage here to Atlas is that Atlas can use Facebook profile data. So, so an example of this is if you log into Facebook a couple times on your mobile device or on your laptop, what Facebook will do is it creates a unique device ID and it ties it to your profile. So if I'm logging in from my mobile device and my laptop, both devices are tied to my Facebook profile. And the way that Atlas uses that data is that it can serve me ads across these devices, and it knows who I am. It knows that I'm one person, which is different than other ad servers that are cookie-based because they may treat me as 2 different people because I'm on 2 different devices. So like Steve mentioned, we do all sorts of advertising, online advertising, offline advertising. It sends a lot of people, a lot of visitors to our website. They consume a lot of content, obviously. They navigate around the website. They click on things. I want that data. I want all that interactions data, so I want to pull that in. And then ultimately, we want to get people on our website to fill out a lead form. And when they fill out a lead form, their information goes into our CRM platform, which is Salesforce. We actually have two platforms. We have Salesforce, and we have a homegrown platform called SolarWorks, the combination of the two that makes up our CRM system. So when I think about the customer journey, this is what I think about. This is our funnel. And it starts at the top where you have people that are unaware that SolarCity exists. And they have interactions with our advertisements, they have interactions with our website, they fill out a lead form, and eventually they become a paying customer. And we care about what happens after they become a customer because we want to keep these people happy because they're likely, if they're happy, they're likely to refer friends and family to SolarCity. So my job is to stitch all of this together. There's just one little hitch here. When you fill out that lead form, the rest of the process goes offline. So we're busy calling you, we're trying to schedule consultations, we're trying to schedule site surveys and things like that. All those offline interactions I want to stitch into this journey. So let's just take the three platforms that we have to connect together. So we have Atlas, we have our website, and we have our CRM platform. Right now they're not talking to one another. So what we did is we took Telium, we introduced Telium. You guys are probably already familiar with this. When Telium is on your website and a visitor comes to the website, so let's say I go to solarcity.com, Telium is going to give me a unique visitor ID, right? So let's call that, my ID is 1234. All right, so then I start navigating around and I start clicking on things, and what I can do is I can go into the back end of Telium, I can pull all that data out, and I can look up visitor ID 1234. And I can see all the different things that I've done on the website. So at this point, I want to connect Telium or our website to Atlas. And the way that we do this is that Atlas has tags on every page of our website. So let's just call the tags beacons. So Atlas has beacons on every page of our website. And when an Atlas beacon fires off, Atlas can look at the visitor's device, and they can tie that device back to the Facebook profile. So Atlas knows who you are as you're navigating around our website. And then the next thing we do is we take that Telium visitor ID and we place that in the Atlas beacon, and we send that visitor ID over to Atlas. So now Atlas has my ID. It has 1234. If I go into Atlas and I look it up, I can see all the different ads that was served to me across my devices. So at this point, we connected Atlas and Telium together. The next thing we want to do is connect Telium to our CRM platform, and it works very much the same way. So when somebody comes and fills out the lead form, we take that visitor ID and we pass it into our CRM platform. So if I look up my visitor ID 1234 in Salesforce, I can see all the different offline interactions associated with that ID. So this is it. We connected all the platforms. This is the foundation of our data warehouse right here. These platforms are now talking to one another. So it gets really fun now because there's a lot of cool things that we can do with this data. So we have a lot of display vendors where we run lots of different banner ads. Our display vendors also have beacons on our website, right? So they can see what visitors are doing, and they can see when they fill out a lead form, but when that process goes offline, our vendors cannot see in the lower funnel. They have no idea how those visitors are converting down the funnel, right? So we can take a visitor ID, pass it into our vendors through the beacon, and then every day we can send data from Salesforce saying, hey, these visitors are converting down a funnel. These are visitors that are becoming SolarCity customers. And then what we can do with that data is we can say, hey vendors, you guys know who our customers are. Build lookalike models, go out and find more people that look like our customers and start advertising to them. And this is how we become more efficient with our media spend. And then there's like other interactions that we want to stitch in, right? So, when we do advertising, some people come to our website, some people call in. A lot of people actually search. They will go onto Google, they will search for SolarCity, and we'll present them with a paid search ad. Let's say they click on the paid search ad from Google, they come to our website. Google has something called a Google Click ID, and that Google Click ID will get passed into our website. It'll get passed into Telium, and we take that Click ID and we run it against the AdWords API, and we know exactly what paid search campaign that person came from. We know exactly what search query they typed into Google. So we stitch that into their journey. And then we do other fun things. So, we have a direct mail program. We send mail pieces out to households. I know where you live. If you come to our website and fill out a lead form, I can stitch that in. Or if you go out to a Home Depot and talk to a salesperson and sign up there, I can still stitch you in. You know, we do lots of press releases, there's news articles, we spend time on organic social. Like, I want to be able to stitch those interactions in as well. So this is like the big picture of what we're doing, and Telium is the center of this whole thing, right? Telium is what allows us to connect these different platforms together, right? So now I can go into these different platforms, I can pull data out of them, right? And I had the common key here is the visitor ID. I can take all those different data sets and I can join them together to form one large data set, which is the customer journey. And that's what goes into our data warehouse. So as of today, we have a little over 22 billion records in our data warehouse. Each record represents an interaction with the consumer. It grows by 2 to 3 billion records every month. I would say next year at this time, we'll probably grow 6 billion records a month. And this is really cool because there's a few different components to our data warehouse. So there's like a self-service environment where the marketing people can take a BI tool like Tableau, point it to our data warehouse, and they can ask and they can answer their own questions without bothering my data analysts. I have a data science team. They just spend all day doing modeling. They build marketing mix models. They build forecasting models, seasonality models. They have tools like R and Python. They connect it to the data warehouse and they can do their thing. Right now they're working on multi-touch attribution. And another thing that we can do is all the data that we're pulling out of Telium and storing in this data warehouse, just put Tableau right on top of that, and that becomes your web analytics platform, and that's already connected to your CRM. So it's a lot of cool things we can do with this. So at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Noah. He's going to talk to you about what he does with some of this data and how he uses Audience Stream.
Thank you. Okay, so like Steve said before, I was brought on to SolarCity to manage paid search. And when I saw Audience Stream, like a lot of you guys, I was like, that's awesome. I want to get involved in that. And he said, do you want to manage it? I'm like, what? So that's what I'm doing right now. So my first slide is kind of just an example of how I tried to explain Audience Stream to people. Not having a background in that and coming from paid search, when I first saw the tool, I'm like, I don't know what this is. It's an audience discovery platform. I don't know what that means. I kept hearing that on the webinars, and I'm like, that's not helpful for me. So one day I was running, and this is a park right by my house, and I'm not sure if you guys can see it back there, but on the left-hand side, there's a paved path that people can bike down or go running down. And on the other side, there is a path that's just dirt of where people have gone thousands of times and just killed all the grass, making their own path, not conforming to the path that we want them to go down. So I think as online people, a lot of the times we're just trying to push people down one funnel. Like for us, it's very sales heavy. So we want you to fill out this lead form. We're going to squeeze you through this page. There's nothing else you can do. I hate using this example, but it is like people talk about herding cats. So you see one customer go off this way, and you're like, wait, no, we don't want you to do this. We want you to do this. So in this example, where the dirt is, instead of like customizing the user experience in this case, and putting stairs there or doing something to cater to those users, they put a sign there that says like stay on the path, or like your GPS tells you to stick to the highlighted route. So that's kind of how I have been explaining Audience Stream to people. It's just that it's a great audience discovery tool, and now I'm using the lingo. So you can see what these different paths are. In this case, there's one path that kind of veers off the path that they want you to go down. But in the real world, there's thousands of paths, millions, whatever the number is. And Audience Stream allows you to find out what those common paths are and cater to those users. So like I said before, when we started, it was very sales heavy. They were using just one single landing page for all of our media, and we've been able to diversify from that. But just a couple of other things. Incorrect personas, I'll go on the next slide. And I kind of jammed everything onto a small amount of slides because I'm talking about more than I planned on in the beginning. So along the same point, every customer leaves breadcrumbs. So they're going to do what they want to do on the website, whether you want them to or not. Being on a performance marketing team, I think that we tend to see everybody that comes to our website as a potential customer when that's not the case at all. So we see a lot of current customers that something that we've been able to put into Audience Stream and give them a badge as people that are logging into the site. I think you've heard a couple times in other sessions about how much money is wasted on remarketing. So we're able to exclude our customers based on logging on the site or pulling in the Salesforce data for people that we know are already customers, so we can negatively target them with whatever display vendors we're using. There's unqualified traffic, so some people we're never going to be able to convert. You heard that we're just in under 20 locations, so a lot of people that come to our website are out-of-territory users. So when they put in a zip code in our website for an area that we don't service, we're able to assign them an out-of-service badge. So if we want to target them later, if we expand into that area, we're able to do that. If we want to stop targeting them through our display vendors, we're able to do that and kind of cut back on wasting money on people that are unqualified. And then there's just people that are going to be uninterested also. So ever since I've been in marketing, I've heard the research, consider, commit. And I just feel like people don't understand the flip side of that, where when people do their research, they're going to realize that maybe this product isn't for me. And so they would be the uninterested user. So we still want to provide them with the best experience possible when they're interacting with our brand, and not treat everybody like they're a potential customer, and our conversion rate should be 100%, because that's not realistic. So personas. We all work at companies that we probably have built personas for content, or if you have e-commerce personas or whatever teams are building personas, they're probably somewhere in your company. And pulling those into Audience Stream has been really useful. So when I started at SolarCity, I think it was my second day, there was a company meeting, and I didn't realize this coming on, but it was like it was a save the world kind of thing, where join the movement. That's what we are as employees. So that's what we assume all the people that are looking at buying solar are going to be. When after doing more research and finding out more real information, there's a lot of people that are into savings, and that's the only reason that they're looking at solar as an option. There are the early adopters in technology that just want to have cool things on their house. Whether you think they're ugly or not, they're still pretty cool. So we're able to assign these users with badges and then customize the experience for them. So this is a landing page test on the right that we're doing, and that would be more towards the savings type of person. So once you know what kind of user this is, based on them interacting with your website, if they're going to pages on your site that are cost specific or savings specific, you can customize their experience to something that you would think they're more interested in. Okay, so these two ads, they're both of our ads, and this goes along the point of advertising theme and the savings claims. So in performance marketing, we like to test our savings claims. So will $520 work better than $516? Even though it's more money that you'd be saving, on a performance side, it doesn't always work the best. So that's something that we like to test. So in the theme of organizing your audiences, keeping those groups organized, like what ads are they seeing? Are they seeing a 516 ad and then getting to a landing page that's telling them 520 or something different? You're able to keep that that whole experience unified by creating badges to them and then customizing the whole experience, so you're not confusing people. If I saw a 516 somewhere and then saw 520 somewhere else, that would kind of turn me off, and I'd be like, this doesn't seem right, maybe I'll look somewhere else. So that's just another example of using badges there. I see that in the insurance space a lot, and I didn't want to bring up insurance just because that's where they came from. But certain advertisers, like insurance does a lot of advertising. I'm not ever looking for insurance, or I haven't in a long time, so I don't know why I'm still getting the ads. But I see their ads everywhere. And I think it's just because they're flooding me all the time that I do see some different savings claim numbers. But that's just a use case. If you guys are in insurance and doing display ads, maybe you should do this. So another example, since I have a couple more minutes, I'll leave time for questions. Okay, this is completely disconnected, but as we talked about before, I came from paid search, so I always have to fight for anybody that's doing paid search and has to answer these questions. So it might only be relevant to me, but I'm doing it anyway. So for those of you who don't know what paid search is at all, generic search for us would be a term like solar panels, and brand search would be a term like SolarCity. So all the time we hear, turn off generic search, it's too expensive. Everything's converting on the branded traffic, whatever. So we are actually having a meeting about this tomorrow morning. So and this isn't an audience stream example, but it's a TLAM example. So as Matt talked about before, the visitor ID is what we're able to use to pull everything together and use that Google Click ID. So here you'll see, and I stripped out all the other examples of how many ads this person saw, and this is all search related. So if you can see, this person came through on a paid generic search for solar energy pros and cons. So if you look at a last touch attribution, that looks like it has a really high cost per lead. So if you're only looking at last touch, it's something you would probably turn off. But if you look at the visitor ID and know that all of these are their actions, it makes a little bit more sense. So after they came through and learned about SolarCity from that term, they went back and they searched Google again for SolarCity. So now they're familiar with our brand and they're looking into us. So after that, they come through on our page organically. So that's cool because we don't have to pay for it. And then they're really double checking and they come through on another paid search ad, which isn't bad. And then lastly, they complete through coming through organically. We don't know, since it's organic, if that was a branded term or what it was, but they're familiar with our site. In this specific case, paid search would get no credit for this at all if you're looking at last click. It would go into a different bucket. So because of Telium and all the insight that it gives us, we're able to give more credit to these generic terms like solar energy pros and cons, because if we weren't showing them that ad at that time, then they never would have been a customer at all, or it would have taken them longer. But that's something I've said working at an agency. I told my clients that 1,000,000 times, but I didn't have any data to back that up until we implemented this and started pulling examples of how generic actually is tying down and seeing the actual funnel of that traffic. So it's been really exciting. We're just at the beginning.